Welcome to Scrivo versus the world. I'm your host, Scrivo. In this episode of the show, I'll run through how and why teams do pairings. What is a matrix? The matrix, other than a classic film, is a table of information to help inform your pairings guru or captain on how best to match up the team for the best chance of success. Why a matrix? This level of preparation helps your team not only know which pairings to aim for, but also allows you as a player to prepare for less favourable matches and consider how to minimise their impact. So if you know that for your Space Marines army, you're going to struggle to go and kill Chaos Knights because they've got tons of War Dogs, because that's the way that they play at the moment, you would then score that down and you'd be like, cool, I don't want to go into that one. Team scoring and differential. Last time I discussed differential and team scoring, remembering that all games are converted into differential scoring on the 20-0 scale. So at the WTC 2023, across 8 games, if your team scored under 75, it was a round loss, so 0 points on the leaderboard for the actual event. If the total of the score was 75 to 85, it would be a tie, which would be 1 point on the leaderboard. And then finally, if you scored over 86, it would be a round win, allocating 2 points on the leaderboard. So obviously, even getting a draw gets you somewhere on that kind of leaderboard, which means every point still counts. And if you hold someone up to a draw, it doesn't kind of take them completely out of the running, but at the same time, it does make it a lot harder for them. So it is good that if you can scrape that, it's great. Right, the pairings process. Here is an example matrix for our team. This is a simulation with the goal of being vaguely accurate to what you'd see, but I'm no pairings guru, so just be kind, especially if some of the matchups do seem a bit like, why would they do that? It's like, maybe it's a bunch of lemons like me doing it. Right, so step 1, both teams secretly decide what their first defender is. This will be a list that generally can handle whatever gets thrown at them, so it'll be an army that they know that out of the 8 armies that they're facing, if they have to pick from 2 of them, they've got to make the best of it. Then both teams secretly pick their 2 attackers once they've seen what the defenders are. They ideally pick these as 2 things that list is not going to like no matter what, so it's like the choice of the 2 bad options. But then obviously there's that consideration for the defender, like if I'm taking out, so say if you're, one of them's Eldari, do you take the Eldari out of the equation for the rest of your team? So it's kind of like, if you were going to have a bad game either way, if one of them's worse off for the other 7 players, you take it out. So it's all that kind of sort of looking at how it works out for the rest of the team. You then have the captains roll off for a table pick. So this doesn't always happen at events, but if you're playing WTC or even something like the UKTC's teams events, there'll be different styles of board. WTC format, for example, is 2 light, 4 medium, and 2 heavy boards. So there's that consideration. So obviously, in a matchup, say Chaos Knights going into Votan, if the Chaos Knights are picking it, they might go for a heavy board to limit the Votan's ability to see them and shoot them, whilst the Chaos Knights, because of their stratagem to just walk through walls, they'll do it, and it means that they're fighting on their terms that way. So, but obviously then if that takes out an important board for later games, it probably is something they might not do, so they might go medium. So it's kind of like everyone's probably got their preferences for matchups, so quite often on a matrix you will see it where people put what their preference is for that matchup for a board, because then you can work out between you, like, do we have enough medium boards to go around? If not, someone may have to take kind of like the less optimal option. So the process happens twice more, with the board pick alternating 2. The Eldari would go into the Grey Knights here. Knowing the Grey Knights shooting isn't dangerous but still needs respecting, they take a medium board, because a light board would just mean that those strength 6 guns at best are hitting into toughness 3 bodies still, so you don't want to be in the open really. So Necrons into Orcs, with the Necrons not carrying up the board massively, so in that situation I could imagine, say, the Orcs being put into a light board, because the Necrons can shoot, they're not amazing, the Orcs don't really shoot, so it's taking a light board away from people that may not want it. The Chaos Space Marines get Chaos Knights or Eldari. Chaos Knights isn't dreadful for them, but I think in this situation I'd suggest the Eldari get taken out, because then that kind of like, it can kind of swing them and maybe defang them a bit. Then the opposing CSM get the choice of Custodes or Votan, with Custodes being a good target for the shooting. they let the Votann go back in. Table 7 is decided from that last pairings. The 2 rejected guys get thrown at each other. And then the last 2 cards that haven't been put down. It does sound a little bit confusing, but when you see it in practice, and you're kind of looking at your matrix and going, we think they're going to put down this is the first defender and why, and then seeing it play out or not play out is fascinating. It's one of those things that I think once you've played through it a few times, you kind of go, ah, yes. And if you've got an understanding of your own matchups, it helps. But my first experience of it, when I went to Battle of Britain in 2021, I'd not played into half the armies. And so as a result, my matrix was all over the place. So I was like, I'll probably get a 3 there, I'll get a 4 there. And in reality, I was getting 1 point each time. But as you become more familiar with it, it's something I think that can be quite rewarding. And it's nice that you can kind of, you know, you're going to, like, so for example, this weekend, I went to a Saffron Slam team event. I took my Space Marines, knowing it's quite a drawish sort of army. 3 times out of the 5, I got the drawish kind of score. It was great. So I knew I was kind of right where I thought I was going to be, which is good. Apart from a couple of blowout rounds, it was okay. So that is what a pairings matrix would look like, and then how the pairings would potentially play out. Thank you for watching. Obviously, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications for the next time one goes live. If you enjoyed this, the next show should be an interview. So I'm going to get a member of the community in, and we'll have a chat about their experiences with the teams format, the WTC, and probably even about their nation's kind of recruitment and how they approach it, because I think that's also an interesting thing to discuss. So until next time, take care.